A young woman in Shenzhen just filmed her entire weekend. No trip, no plans, nothing special. But one detail stopped people cold. She went almost the whole day without speaking a single word to another human being. And here's the twist. She says she prefers it that way. So it raises a real question, one that's quietly reshaping the world's most populous country. Why are so many young Chinese people choosing to live completely alone? Not lonely, not left behind, alone on purpose. Her ordinary weekend gives us 6 answers. First, because being alone no longer requires anyone else. In a Chinese city, one person can run their entire life without needing another person in it. Watch how she handles a chore that normally forces you to interact. Her shoes are too delicate for the washing machine. She doesn't ask a friend. She doesn't visit a shop. She opens an app, drops the shoes in her building's lobby, and a courier takes care of the rest. About 189 yuan, a few taps, done. Why is this normal here when it feels like a luxury everywhere else? 2 forces. Almost everything runs through 1 or 2 super apps and a QR code, payment, food, services, all the same tap and scan reflex. And behind the screen sits an enormous delivery workforce, competing on speed and price. When a single person can run their whole life through a phone, the biggest obstacle to living alone simply disappears. Second, because living solo costs almost nothing. In most of the world, living alone is expensive. In urban China, it's the cheapest way to live, and her ride proves it. She gets around on an electric scooter locals jokingly call a little electric donkey. She charges it by scanning a QR code. 5 yuan. 80 kilometers, nearly 2 weeks of travel. Parking is free, and it fits into any gap on the street. This isn't her being frugal, it's the logic of a dense city, where everything is within a few kilometers in a country that builds these vehicles by the millions. When running your own life costs this little, the financial pressure that usually pushes young people back home or into a shared flat just melts away. Third, because eating alone is easier than cooking for a family. Here's a habit that reveals everything. She almost never cooks. She eats at the mall, where entire floors are dedicated to food. Her meal? Self-service hot pot. Scan a QR code, pick your broth, grab your ingredients. Chopsticks, napkins, even hair ties are waiting in the drawer, and when she's done, she just taps a button to pay. So why don't young people cook? Because the math is brutal. A meal out or delivered often costs just $2 to $5, frequently cheaper than cooking for one. City kitchens are tiny. Delivery is relentless. In a system like this, cooking becomes the inefficient choice, and eating alone becomes the effortless one. The entire food economy is built around the individual, not the family table. Fourth, because the city became her living room. People assume living alone means being trapped indoors. She's barely home. In urban China, public space took over the job that used to belong to the family home. After eating, she wanders the mall. It's climate-controlled, it has everything, and walking around costs nothing. Shenzhen alone has over 300 major malls, so many that locals joke there are more malls than shoppers. That surplus turned the mall into the city's shared living room. Next door, a cat cafe. $1.50 for 30 minutes of calm with rescued cats. Why does something this wholesome sit on every corner? Because young people live in small rented flats and work under real pressure. When the city gives you your dining room, your lounge, and your entertainment right outside your door, you don't need a crowded home to have a full life. Fifth, because the culture rewards efficiency and personal space. This is the deepest reason, the one that explains why they don't just accept solo life. They enjoy it. She says it plainly. If she wanted, she could go an entire day without speaking and still get everything she needs. When someone asks if that's lonely, her answer is blunt. Most young people prefer it. She didn't even know what small talk was until she went abroad. When millions live packed together, personal space becomes the rarest luxury, and small talk starts to feel like friction, not warmth. Living alone isn't seen as failure. It's seen as protecting your peace. And watch the contrast. Those same quiet streets fill every night with older people, square dancing loud, communal, joyful. The young, they often find it annoying. Two generations, two answers to the same crowded city. The old find connection in the crowd, the young find peace in solitude. Sixth, because the workday pushes freedom into the night. This last reason is the honest one. Work here is intense, and for many, real life only begins after they clock out. That's why the city doesn't wind down in the evening. It wakes up. By 8 p.m., the streets are packed. Back home, she's still assembling a metal model puzzle at 3 in the morning, and she admits in a big Chinese city, going to bed at midnight counts as early. When your day belongs to your job, you steal your freedom from the night. And stolen, private, late-night freedom is far easier to protect when you live alone. So put it all together. Young Chinese aren't choosing to live alone because they're closed off or unhappy. They're choosing it because an entire city was quietly built to make solo life easy, cheap, and genuinely pleasant. Automated errands, tiny costs, effortless meals, public space instead of a family home, a culture that prizes personal space, and a work rhythm that hands you freedom only at night. One quiet weekend, one young woman, and underneath it the portrait of a generation deciding on its own terms how it wants to live. So here's the question worth sitting with. Is this the loneliest way to live, or the most free? If you want more of the real everyday China, the highlight reels, skip subscribe. There's a lot more to show you.